Welcome, dear traveler, to Fables and Fairy Tales Studio, where timeless stories come to life. Step into a realm of magic and wonder, where every whispered legend and enchanted tale paints a world of dreams and hidden truths. From the frosty majesty of the Snow Queen's realm to the warm glow of enchanted gardens, our stories beckon you to believe in the power of imagination. Like and subscribe to join our journey into a land where every ending is but a new beginning in the everlasting world of fairy tales. Part 1. The Mirror and Its Pieces. In a faraway land, there was a wicked troll who created a magic mirror. This was no ordinary mirror. It had the power to make beautiful things look ugly and ugly things seem beautiful. It twisted everything it reflected. The troll's joy came from the thought that it would be the greatest joy to look into the mirror forever, and so he created many shards of this mirror, sharp and tiny. One day, the mirror broke into millions of pieces, scattering them across the world. Some of these pieces lodged in people's hearts, turning them cold and harsh. Some were caught in people's eyes, making them see only the faults and imperfections in everything they looked upon. Those who had these pieces in their hearts or eyes could no longer see beauty, only ugliness. The troll laughed, thinking of all the misery this mirror would cause. But the evil mirror wasn't finished yet. It had one more great purpose: to reflect the coldness of the Snow Queen, a woman who lived in the coldest, most frozen part of the world. Part 2. The Little Boy and the Little Girl. In a small town where rooftops stood close together and roses bloomed in window boxes, two children lived side by side. Kai and Gerda were the closest of friends, their homes connected by a small rooftop garden where they spent their days playing. In the summer, they would sit among the roses, listening to their grandmother's stories of the Snow Queen, who ruled over the icy lands of the north. "She flies through the sky like a flurry of snow," their grandmother would say. "Her breath can freeze even the warmest heart." Kai would press his nose to the window on winter nights, looking for the Snow Queen in the swirling frost. And one night, he thought he saw her, a pale figure with piercing blue eyes, watching him from outside. Frightened, he pulled the curtains shut and ran to Gerda. But their happy days would not last. One bitter winter afternoon, as the children played outside, a gust of wind carried two tiny shards of glass into the town, fragments from the wicked troll's mirror. One speck lodged itself in Kai's eye, the other in his heart. At once, everything changed. The world no longer looked warm and beautiful to him. The roses he once loved now seemed dull and flawed. He laughed cruelly at Gerda's kindness, pushing her away. "You're so childish, Gerda," he scoffed. "These flowers are ugly. And you cry too easily." As winter deepened, Kai became cold and distant. One evening, as he slid through the streets, a great white sleigh appeared, driven by a tall, pale woman cloaked in ice. It was the Snow Queen. She beckoned Kai closer. "Are you cold?" she asked. Her voice was like the whispering wind, and her eyes shone like frozen stars. Kai felt no fear as he climbed into her sleigh. The Snow Queen kissed his forehead once, and the cold no longer bothered him. She kissed him again, and he forgot all about Gerda, his grandmother, and his home. Then, with a rush of icy wind, the sleigh rose into the sky and disappeared into the swirling snow. The next morning, Kai was gone. Part 3. The Flower Garden of the Woman Who Knew Magic. Gerda searched everywhere for Kai, asking neighbors and travelers, but no one had seen him. As spring arrived, she could wait no longer. With only her red shoes and a heart full of hope, she set off down the river, calling Kai's name. The river, wide and flowing, seemed to whisper in response. Gerda took off her shoes and placed them in the water as an offering. But the river pulled them away, faster and faster, until a small boat broke free from the shore. Without thinking, Gerda stepped inside, only to find the current carrying her away. She drifted for hours past fields and forests, until the boat finally bumped against a garden gate. An old woman in a wide-brimmed hat stood there, leaning on her cane. Her eyes were kind, but there was something strange about her smile. "Come, child," the woman said. "Stay with me a while. You must be tired." Gerda followed her through the gate into a garden bursting with color, roses, lilies, and flowers of every kind. The air smelled sweet, and the sun shone warmly. But something was missing. There were no roses. Gerda did not notice at first. The old woman had a way of making her forget the cold, forget the journey, forget Kai. With each passing day, the flowers whispered stories to her, and the warm sun made her drowsy. But then, one afternoon, Gerda found a single painted rose on the old woman's hat. Suddenly, the memories rushed back. "Kai!" she cried, and tears fell onto the ground. The flowers trembled. Then, as if awakened by her sorrow, they began to whisper. "We have not seen him," they said. "But he is not dead. He is far away, in the Snow Queen's palace." With new determination, Gerda ran past the gate, past the river, and into the wide world once more, leaving the enchanted garden behind. Part 4. The Prince and Princess. Gerda wandered far, searching for any sign of Kai. As night fell, she found herself in a great forest. Cold and exhausted, she stumbled upon a large raven perched on a tree branch. "What are you looking for, child?" the raven asked. "My friend Kai," Gerda replied. "He was taken by the Snow Queen." The raven cocked its head. "I do not know of this Snow Queen, but I have seen a boy who looks like the one you seek. He lives in the palace with the prince and princess." Gerda's heart leaped with hope. The raven led her through the palace gates, where she met a kind princess who listened to her story with sympathy. But when she and the prince led Gerda to the boy's chamber, it was not Kai. Gerda wept. Seeing her sorrow, the prince and princess gave her warm clothes, a golden carriage, and food for her journey. With their help, she set off once more, determined to find Kai. Part 5. The Little Robber Girl. Gerda's golden carriage shone brightly as it rolled through the forest. But its beauty caught the attention of a band of robbers hiding in the trees. With a shout, the little robber girl leaped onto the carriage, her wild hair tangled and her eyes fierce. "You're coming with me," she laughed, dragging Gerda to their robber's den. Inside, the little robber girl sat close to Gerda and listened to her story. She was rough but not unkind, and when Gerda spoke of Kai, she frowned. "The Snow Queen," the robber girl muttered. "I know someone who might help." She led Gerda to a captive reindeer who had come from the far north. "Take her to Lapland," the robber girl commanded, freeing the reindeer. "Help her find her friend." With that, Gerda climbed onto the reindeer's back and raced toward the frozen wastelands. Part 6. The Lapland Woman and the Finland Woman. Across icy fields and snowy plains, the reindeer carried Gerda northward. Soon they reached Lapland, where they met a wise old woman in a simple hut. "Kai is with the Snow Queen," the Lapland woman told them. "She keeps him in her palace, frozen and silent." But Gerda could not stop now. The woman gave them a letter and sent them to Finland, where another wise woman lived. The Finland woman read the letter and nodded. "Gerda has great power," she said. "Her love for Kai is stronger than any magic. It will be enough." With those words, Gerda and the reindeer set off once more, toward the Snow Queen's palace. Part 7. The Snow Queen's palace and what happened afterwards. At last, Gerda reached the Snow Queen's palace, a vast, frozen hall of endless ice. There, at the center, sat Kai, pale and motionless. His heart was frozen, his eyes cold as glass. "Kai!" Gerda cried, running to him. But he did not move. The Snow Queen's spell held him fast. With tears streaming down her face, Gerda embraced him. Her warm tears fell onto his chest, melting the shard of the evil mirror lodged in his heart. Suddenly, Kai blinked. His eyes softened, and he saw Gerda clearly for the first time in so long. "Gerda," he whispered, as if waking from a dream. The spell was broken. As they held each other, the Snow Queen's palace shook. Ice cracked, and the cold winds died away. Together, they stepped out into the open air, where spring had begun to return. Hand in hand, they journeyed home, the warmth of love thawing the last of the winter's frost. And when they reached their grandmother's house, the roses were blooming once more. The end. And so, our enchanted journey comes to an end, for now. Thank you for stepping into the world of timeless fables and magical tales. If your heart was stirred by our story today, be sure to subscribe, click the bell, and join our ever-growing circle of dreamers. Until our next adventure, may your days be filled with wonder and your nights with gentle dreams. Farewell, and remember, every ending is just another beginning in our world of fairy tales.